UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Infinite diversity.
Live long and prosper, and welcome to Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on the United Federation of Podcast Network. I'm your host for today, Brandon Shea-Mutella, and joining me are my co-hosts Chrissie De Clerck-Szilagyi and Justin Oser. Chrissie, how are you doing today?
I am doing very well today. I'm working on a debunk of that ensign's idea that the Dominion War isn't real. That'll be up on the History with the Szilagys page shortly, along with the Ancient Alien blogs.
Excellent. Right on. Justin, I know sometimes that you and I, we have it's very hard for us to discuss, very hard, and I'm not always hard on you, but once in a while you do make me really hard. I mean, wait a minute, that didn't come out right at all. Justin, how are you doing?
I'd be doing better if you didn't say that first. I hated that joke. But anyway, I'm doing pretty well otherwise.
See, my favorite part of that joke was at the end of the scene when he actually put the pad in front of his crotch.
Yes.
Oh, I missed that because my eyes were already rolled off of the screen. So.
Yeah, I definitely like that joke a lot. Excellent. Well, joining us as we had promised, we're very excited to bookend this first season of Star Trek Lower Decks with the wonderful Kevin Dilmore. How are you doing, Kevin? Thanks for coming back.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here, but did we promise or threaten that I'd be back?
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Okay. So
two sides of the same coin.
No, very happy to get a chance to talk Star Trek animation once again.
Awesome. Excellent. Kevin, I had a question for you before we get too far into the episode because I didn't want to bring this up during the discussion. I tweeted in our messenger behind the scenes to Chrissie and Justin already about this one, but I just wanted to ask you. When Mariner said she had a Tribble for personal use, did you think about Richard Gere?
Well, I do now.
That was what I said.
Okay, let's.
No, I didn't.
And as I pointed out in our chat, Brandon, that is an urban legend, so not true.
An urban myth. Well, now it's a Starfleet urban myth.
Without getting into a lot of detail, my brain went to front bottom rather than back bottom.
Oh.
And I didn't take anything sexual out of that at all. I was just like, oh, she has a pet Tribble and doesn't want to tell anybody that she has a pet because it might make her look, soft.
When has
not go there? Soft as opposed to Ransom's heart.
Yes, exactly. There you go. I suppose they do kind of vibrate, don't they? So that makes sense.
To keep them happy.
Yeah.
Keep them fed. Excellent. Right on. Anyways, let's move on. Let's move on in our discussion. We are going to be talking about some wonderful Star Trek news before we get into our discussion on the final episode, which is called No Small Parts, the season finale of Lower Decks Season 1. First, though, we had some wonderful news. What was it? Was it New York Comic Con that they had?
Yeah.
Online?
Yes. New York Comic Con is just concluding as we record.
And they had a Star Trek panel, and they announced that Star Trek Prodigy is coming sometime next year. They've started recording it, and it's going to be starring Kathryn Janeway, Captain Kathryn Janeway. Kate Mulgrew is coming back to voice this character, and the internet blew up, and it was wonderful. I am very excited to hear this news. Kevin, how did you react when you heard this news? Or you've probably known for like 8 months already.
Yeah, I was as shocked to hear them reveal that when they did as anybody. Now, I do want, not that I want to spar, but did they say that the show would be starring her or featuring her? Because I still think the show might be focused on the kids, but I don't really know. Is anybody?
They used the word starring when they announced it.
Oh, well then, okay. Well, never mind. So yeah, I don't know what, I guess it's Space Academy all over again, except it's, not Scotty. Or I guess Scotty was Jason of Star Command. Dr. Smith was Space Academy.
I'm going to paraphrase what I read as a tweet, and I was totally on board for this. They're like, a friend of mine just predicted that this is going to be like Magic School Bus, where Captain Janeway is Miss Frizzle, and I'm totally on board for that. The tweet was a little bit more graphic wording than that one here, but I would totally be on board for that as well.
Have any of you seen any of the trailers that just, I think, only recently got dropped for a Nickelodeon show called The Astronauts?
No, I haven't heard of that yet.
It's a live action show, and it's basically, sounds like to me, from what I can gather, is 5 or 6 kids stowaway on a ship that is going to be making a mission. I don't know if it's to Mars or to another destination. I don't think it's a terribly, terribly deep. I don't think it goes beyond the solar system. Anyway, it is, there's just enough about it that makes me think, I want to watch The Astronauts to see if I get a vibe for what kind of tone, what level of science, just what it is they're wanting to do with a science fiction show aimed at what feels like the same age audience that Prodigy might be aimed at. So that might be worth checking out just for comparative sake.
So this is a show that's coming out soon?
I want to say November 13th, so I'm going to say November 13th.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and that's called The Astronauts, you said?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, maybe we'll check it out.
I'm consulting Memory Alpha as we speak.
So, can I say a few words about this announcement?
Please.
Yes, absolutely, Justin. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I was so excited, and I was able to watch it live, and like as they were doing the build up, I was like, oh my god, the way that they're describing it sounds like Janeway. I can't believe that. And I was just like, and then she came on, I was just so excited because, Voyager was actually the first Star Trek series that I saw on TV back in the mid to late 90s. Didn't become a huge fan then, but I have fond memories of watching it in high school. And like each time that I rewatch the show, I love it like even more, and it's become one of my favorite Star Trek shows. And I've heard so many stories from so many women who got into the sciences because of Janeway and were just so inspired. And it's just cool to think like there'll be another generation that are inspired to go into science and for, Federation and Starfleet ideals and all of that. So I was already excited about Prodigy, like, oh, this sounds like a cool idea. But now I'm like even more excited. I think it's a really, really great thing and very exciting. Yeah. And I think it'll mean that like it's supposed to be a show aimed at, let's say, teenagers, but I think lots of adults will watch for Janeway as well.
Yeah.
Which is preteen.
Cool. Yeah. I think somewhere I read that it was preteen, like 5 to 15 was kind of the age group.
I think they said 5 to 15, you're right. Yeah.
But even still, I'm gonna cool. watch it.
Well, yeah.
I'm totally gonna watch it. And we'll watch it for this podcast. Yeah. We'll definitely check it out.
Anyway, so it was super exciting. It was just, such great news.
Chrissy, what are your thoughts?
I'm looking forward to it. I love that idea of the Magic School Bus kind of thing. That's just fun. How can I put it? I think what we'll end up seeing is maybe her as a connection point for them to Starfleet. Where they're going to be mostly on their own because it's a kid's show, so it wouldn't make sense to have an adult always telling them what to do. So I think she's going to be that liaison, maybe for lack of a better word.
So maybe like the Valiant?
Yeah.
Probably not quite so dark as like in the
Hopefully.
war, but like maybe something like a ship like the Valiant or something like that. Yeah. Excellent. Awesome. Yeah, I'm stoked. You know what? All I've seen online is positive responses to this. So I think that the majority of fandom is pretty excited by this news. And I think that we're going to be in for something pretty neat. I mean, I'm not expecting the same type of stories that we're getting on Lower Decks. I'm not expecting the same type of stories that we got on Picard or Discovery. It's going to be for a completely different group. And it's going to have a very different tone to it. And that's okay. Yeah. Like, that's the tone of the show. It's designed for younger kids. And I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I watched, Rebels and Clone Wars were designed for a little bit of an older group, late teens and up and whatnot. But I think everybody, lots of different groups can watch it. And Resistance was designed for, I think, a lower age group. And I watched both, I didn't like Resistance as much, but I still watched it because there was still some neat stuff in it. There was still some good elements. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what they're doing for these episodes.
My hope is that the mainstream Star Trek fans will at least recognize two things: is that sometimes everything isn't for everybody. It's okay if this show isn't for me. I have plenty of shows that are for me. And the other thing I hope people recognize is that if we don't do something to reach out and have younger people have an emotional connection with the IP of Star Trek, like I was able to get from watching the animated series in the 70s, that eventually the show will dwindle in popularity and interest, and it'll go away. I mean, I don't want to see. There's enough people who say, "Oh, Star Trek, yeah, that's what my dad watched," But when we get to the point of Star Trek, "Oh, yeah, that's what Grandpa watches," then that's then we're going to lose them. I have the same quibble with comic books today. I feel like that there's plenty of stories that are out there for me. I want to see people make the stories, for readers who are 10, 11, and 12, so they could jump into comics like I did. But another podcast for that.
No, that's
right.
A good point.
And I would compare this to, I know that lots of people still read them, and I did read a few of them. But I mean, I read all the Star Trek novels. I didn't really get into the Starfleet Academy series of young adult novels, right? That wasn't my thing. That wasn't something that I wanted. I know that a lot of people did, though, and I read half a dozen of them or whatever. I got a few of them here and there. But it just wasn't quite my cup of tea because I was looking for something a little more advanced in my book reading at the time. So I think it's great, and it's awesome to have stuff for different age groups, and it is very important to do this kind of thing. So this is exciting. This is very, very exciting. And I mean, as we'll talk about in today's episode, this opens up the door for more crossovers and more fun, so I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be great. Justin, you wanted to take the lead on this news. Do you want to take it away?
There was a really interesting interview that Alex Kurtzman, who's kind of heading up all things Star Trek now, had with a Hollywood Reporter podcast called the TV's Top 5 podcast. And I wanted to actually call out a few things that he had to say because I think they're really interesting, and I think a lot of times we really like to talk about kind of the future of Star Trek. So I guess a couple of things here, and I'm just going to quote him on this because I think it's useful. So he said, "I'm going to say, in all honesty, there are years and years left on Discovery. I think that because Star Trek in general has had a long history of going something like 7 seasons minimum, and we just jumped into the future, it's not that it's a brand new show, but it's a whole new set of variables with a whole new set of ideas and stories, and I don't think we limit ourselves to thinking, oh, we're capped at this place." So a couple interesting things there. He thinks Discovery can go for years and years. We know that season 4 is shooting pretty soon here. And I think there was some speculation at some point, maybe Discovery will end after 3 or 4 seasons, but he sees more seasons and specifically called out 7 seasons, which TNG, DS9, and Voyager had. So I don't know. What do you guys think? I think that's interesting that they're thinking of Discovery kind of keep going for a while.
Yeah, that almost feels like he's saying that they're going to have 7 more seasons. Like he's saying that this is, for lack of a better term, a soft reboot. And that there's going to be 7 beyond this.
Oh, that would be interesting.
So I'm down for that.
Wouldn't that be funny for all the people that don't like Discovery if it becomes like the series with the most seasons? But
they'll deal.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how far they go with the show because, a show like Walking Dead is completely reinventing itself every couple of seasons and it's always changing and whatnot. And, Walking Dead has done stuff that I wish Voyager would have done, which is skipping several years at a time. Like Walking Dead does something really weird in that their seasons are like really oddly cut up in that like episode 10 out of 16 will be like a reboot. Right? Like the last, I think it was a season and a half ago or whatever, episode 10 was all of a sudden like 6 years later, and they just went on from there. And it's weird.
Discovery has done a small bit of that because between the the second and third episode, they skipped 6 months for when Burnham was in prison, and like they skip ahead 9 months toward the end of season 1. So they've done it in like little bits, but they've never done it in big parts. And of course, it's a big chunk going ahead like 900 years. And I don't know what could happen. I think that they're saying that there's a lot of possibilities still to explore. They're also in this 32nd century world that we've never really seen before. So there's probably a lot of different like corners of that to explore for a while. So
yeah. Now, wasn't there something in this interview that said they purposely went to this time period so that they could get past the temporal Cold War stuff from Enterprise? Did I hear that somewhere?
Yeah, they've said that a couple of times because they wanted to pick something specifically that we've never seen before, which is even beyond, the temporal Cold War and Enterprise. Yeah, so that they could just leave all the previous stuff behind and have it wide open for what they want to do.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think that's a smart move, honestly. I'm excited. I'm really excited for this season, like super duper. Yeah. I mean, you guys know from podcasting with me, Discovery is not my favorite Star Trek series. It's my least favorite Star Trek series, but I'm really, really excited for Thursday. I'm really excited to see what they're going to be doing with season 3.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any thoughts on this, Kevin? Like lots of years of Discovery left?
If just keep telling me good stories. Taking time leaps within the show. To be honest, I think that I would have liked Voyager better if it had done something like that, where we really felt like that they were in it for, an inordinately long haul. Yeah. Mad Men, I'm not exactly sure if this is right, but in my mind, it feels like that every episode of Mad Men takes about a month jump from the previous episode. There's nothing that's, sometimes you'll watch a TV show and you're 5 episodes in and you realize that, everything is just a continuation of, wow, we're only about a day and a half in these people's lives because, the shows are just right up against each other. So yeah, I don't know what their plans are. I'm very happy with the performances. I like storytelling that feels different from what I've seen before. And keep telling me good stories. You can stay around as long as you like.
Yep.
All right, excellent. Well, maybe that segues a little bit into the second part of the article, which where Alex Kurtzman basically said that they've been talking about mapping out plans for Star Trek through 2027. And he said, and I'm quoting here, when I say that, it's not like it's set in stone. It's just, here's a plan. Here's what we're looking at. Here's how the different shows are going to drop. So they are planning. I mean, that's 7 years from now. They're planning pretty far in advance, probably farther in advance than the Star Trek franchise ever has before. And so they probably have thoughts on like other shows and other things. So anyway, I think it's quite interesting how confident they are to push it that far out.
If you think about that, I mean, like they're wanting to run Star Trek weekly, right? New Star Trek weekly. So if you stop and think about that, let's say a year from now or whatever, we get back past this COVID nonsense and they're able to maintain a proper filming schedule and things like that. Like 7 years of even 4 seasons a year, right? That's like 28 seasons of Star Trek that we could have between now and 2027, right?
Yay.
Yeah.
All these different shows that they're talking about, so...
That year sounds very particular to me because that would be a year after the anniversary, the 60th anniversary, and that's the perfect time to start a new show. So I feel like that's really even meaning that they're going to go out further. So
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Could just be my optimism. I don't know.
Well, and I hope that some of those are not necessarily open-ended shows. Unpopular opinion, I would have been just fine if Picard was a one and done. I don't necessarily, they may surprise me on what they offer in a second season and how, surprise me with a story I didn't know I needed or wanted. Watchmen was a one and done. They told a great story and I don't need to see necessarily what happens next. I like the idea of just kind of extrapolating that in my own mind. I'm starting to find more to like about stories that know when they're done.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm hopeful that as they project their plans out, that maybe we will get, maybe some TV movie. I love the concept of short treks. I enjoy them to varying degrees, the ones they've executed so far, but I love the idea of it. And, So yeah, even an anthology series, which I understand, reasons for why those are expensive. But if there'd be a way to do a Star Trek anthology series where every episode, they hop around the timeline, they tell different stories of different characters, ones we know, ones we don't, I'd be very open to that.
Yeah, I said last week, Kevin, that what I want next is an animated Da Vinci short trek.
Oh, that'd be fun. I love Leonardo da Vinci. I think that he was a wonderful talent, and anything to get into more of his mind would be terrific.
Well, and they got Kate Mulgrew back on board.
Are you talking about something else? Are you talking about SCE?
No, not the Da Vinci. No.
The
but
person.
You know what? Now that you've said that, yes, I would like that too.
Yeah.
Let's get David Gold.
Yeah. SCE show, I would die. I would love that. Books, but yeah. So anyway, it's interesting to see them mapping out stuff. And there's just one other thing that I wanted to point out from this interview that was interesting, because Alex Kurtzman's actually talking about kind of doing shooting in this era, or filming stuff in this era when we have COVID. So he said, we just started shooting a new non-Star Trek show, and it's been a real learning curve in just the first 3 days they've been doing it. The great news, it's very doable, but it's a highly, highly militarized operation. Everything's different. Everything's slower between testing. Your set doesn't function like the set used to function. Anyway, I won't go into all the detail, but he keeps going, and then he gives a rough figure that it's about $300,000 to $500,000 additional per episode for all of the protective gear that they need on set. That's for a non-Star Trek show. I mean, Star Trek show might be similar, but anyway, it's interesting because they are, I think starting shooting Discovery now, and they're planning on doing Strange New Worlds and other stuff next year, but they're having to put in place like tons of precautions, and it's expensive to do. So anyway, I think it was interesting for him to be very candid about that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that it costs that much. I mean, you don't really think about it, right? But I mean, part of the thing is that, again, another thing, I wish I would remember where I saw this. Somebody tweeted or somebody wrote something that somebody had just flown into Canada and they have to self-isolate for 14 days before they start filming, right? So there's 14 additional days of hotel costs for that person, right? So
I think that's what they're doing for, like the cast of Discovery. They're having to isolate, and then only can they go on the set. So
for whatever it's worth, a British baking show just started a few weeks ago, and that's what they had to do for that, where they normally have the people come in every weekend for however many weeks it is, but this time they put everybody up in a hotel. It was just the baking show people and the people who worked at the hotel, and that was it. And they did it in I think 4 or 5 weeks, they said, instead of the usual 8 or 9, because obviously they didn't have to wait for the weekend because everybody was there. So,
but room service during that time was chef's kiss.
Oh, can you imagine? Yes.
Yeah. And there was also something in the article where he was basically saying, well, maybe for all the shows we might want to do 10 episodes instead of 13, which they're already doing for Picard, but because it's expensive and time consuming, we may get shorter seasons as well.
Tighter storytelling.
Anyway, some interesting
that
insights.
Would be all right.
Yeah. Could be. So anyway, thanks for letting me take over for a while, but I thought there was lots of interesting stuff in that interview that he gave.
Justin, where'd you say we could find that to read the whole thing?
Yeah, it's on TrekCore. So if you go to TrekCore, it's in their news section.
Okay, and that's a link from, I thought I heard you say Hollywood Reporter?
The same article with all the other stuff.
Well, it was a podcast that Kurtzman was on, and they were just transcribing some of what he said.
Oh, terrific! All right, thank you.
For our listeners, link will be in the show notes.
Yeah, for some reason, I mean, he didn't want to come on our podcast and talk about this stuff. I don't know. I mean,
all I have to do is call him.
Yeah. So, well,
okay.
You're now a permanent co-host.
You're now a permanent co-host. Horrible lie.
Anyways, awesome. Well, let's move on to our discussion on Lower Decks Season 1 finale, Episode 10, No Small Parts. Let's jump in first to our initial thoughts and first impressions. Kevin.
I liked it. I am a big fan of Peanut Hamper. Kathryn Donahoe voiced Peanut Hamper, and I enjoy her in everything, including a show that everyone should check out on FXX called You're the Worst. like I was saying before you'd popped on, I may be the person who ends up liking this show more than the rest of you, and maybe giving it a little bit of giving it some slack. But I was very happy with it. By the end of it, I was eager for the next episode, which I think is a great sign for a season finale. I don't want to say that, I laughed, I cried, it became a part of me level, but I was very entertained, unexpectedly moved by a couple of the plot developments, and very, very happy to get even a brief glimpse of who was my favorite supporting cast member for the whole season.
Mm-hmm. And who was that?
Badgie.
Badgie.
Wow. All right.
Justin's favorite as well.
I can imagine.
Chrissy, what are your initial thoughts and impressions?
Yeah, I loved it too. It was wonderful. I think I'm not big at the picking the favorite, so I think this is my favorite for the season. I actually did turn around. I watched it in the morning over breakfast, like we usually do, and then we turned around and watched it again when we had dinner. I don't normally watch it twice in the same day, so that's something.
Oh, I watched it back to back, and I didn't do that for any episode the entire season. Yeah. Now, granted, I knew I'd be talking about this one, but I did watch it. I watched it, rewound it. Do you rewind on digital?
Why not?
I don't know. I mean, I'm old enough back when the internet used to come through the mail. But I did watch. I watched it back to back.
Yeah. As for that, we still call recording things on DVRs taping in this house. So yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I liked how they brought all together these different elements of the season, but they did it in such a way that it wasn't necessarily. You didn't have to. You would not have had to seen everything. You might be like, well, okay, what's the deal with the badge? Seems to be homicidal. If you didn't see that episode, but generally speaking, you could come into this without having seen some of the other ones and be okay. Mm-hmm. Not that that's what people do since it's streaming, but whatever.
Justin, what are your thoughts on this episode?
All right. Well, I'll start with what I liked.
I got to say, before we go into this, so we messaged back and forth. I am actually quite shocked that you didn't love this episode. I'm really shocked by that.
Are you really? I'm the opposite of what you think. So, all right. Yeah. So listeners, I know I've had lots of struggles with the season. So I'll start out positive with what I liked. So I really liked that they brought in the Titan. I love the Titan in the novels. They're some of my favorite novels. They brought in the design that someone submitted for a contest and won, and it's on the cover of one of the books, which is awesome. I love that. It's great to see Riker. It's great to see Troy. So I really like that a lot. The rest of the episode, I just really, I know it's like a totally unpopular opinion. I said this on social media, but because everybody seemed to love it, but like right from the start, coming from the last episode where they were basically like, oh, there's this big secret that Mariner's mother is Freeman, and then Boimler spills the beans, and I'm like, I just felt like that wasn't a very good reveal before, and it doesn't really amount to too much this time. Mm-hmm. And then I felt like they were just kind of, I don't know, having the Pac-Leds as kind of the big bad villain just didn't work for me because I'm not a fan of the Pac-Leds. And there was just like all this stuff that was happening and some of the decisions they made, which we'll talk about. Unfortunately, I really am not a fan of this episode, which has been the case for 8 out of the 10. So we'll get into the details, but yeah, I mean, why are you shocked, Brandon? I haven't liked most of the episodes, so I
don't know. It just, to me, I just because of the Titan and whatnot, because of that callback, I just kind of felt like this was a new one. Yeah,
like the Titan was great, but by that point, like by this point for me, over the course of the season and over the course of the episode, they lost enough like slack or leeway with me that I was like, it's great, it's the Titan, but that doesn't save it for me. So, oh man, awesome. I feel bad.
Well, my first thoughts and impressions here, I freaking love this episode. I thought it was fantastic. And, I watched it, I watched it twice on the first day. I watched it again on Friday, and then I watched it yesterday on Saturday. And I just loved it. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. There was so much wonderful moments in the episode. And I mean, like, yes, we'll talk about some of the stuff right away. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the episode's perfect by any means, but I loved it. And one thing that I really loved about it was the music. And I keep forgetting to bring up the music because the music so far, I'm sorry, has been pretty one note. And they have been doing what they did with TES. And there's a lot of music that's been reused in this season. A lot. I mean, I'm watching the episodes 4 times to prep for this podcast, and they're using the music over and over and over. There's a little bit of original stuff each time, but this one here, I really liked the battle music. I thought it was really cool, and I thought the composer did a really great job. So this was firing on all phasers for me, and this is what I've been wanting all season long, and they delivered in spades for me. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Now, Justin, I do agree with you. The reveal of Boimler walking up to her and being like, "I know your mom's the captain," like it to me, that was it was disassociated with the way we left Boimler last week. Because last week, he was crapping his pants because he thought if anybody knew, he was going to get kicked off the ship. Because remember, the holograms on the holodeck were completely accurate as to their personal logs. Therefore, this is how the captain would be reacting, is kicking somebody off the ship if they ever found this out. And so for him to just nonchalantly walk up and drop this information to her
and why was his channel open when he just like took off his shirt? I don't know. It just seems really careless for someone who cares so much about protocol. But anyway,
he took off his jacket and didn't notice that he hit it. So, but even still, I mean, it's just, but also not only that, the way that the senior staff reacted, I also didn't agree with, because I guess we found out that they didn't know. I mean, I said a while ago, I assumed that they all knew because of I just assumed that the captain was talking about her because everybody was kind of complaining about Mariner, like the Ta'ana was complaining and Ransom was complaining and whatnot. I just assumed that everybody knew, and to find that they didn't, I'm like, oh, okay, so they didn't know.
I thought Ransom knew.
I got the impression from the beginning that nobody else knew, and that's what they were setting up, but yeah.
Either way, though, Kevin, what did you think? Did you now we know that nobody knew, but what did you think? Did you think nobody knew, or what?
I was under the impression that no one knew. I remember that there was if Freeman wanted to keep tabs on Mariner and asked Boimler to kind of be her fly on the wall with and report secretly back to her about kind of stuff. If everyone else knew, she would have just asked somebody on senior staff because that's her job. Mm-hmm. So I kind of got the feeling that that the reason that she had asked that was to give Boimler a individual responsibility that he would invariably F up, which he did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then, so how did you feel about Boimler's reveal to her?
It's a cartoon. I knew that there's just so much they're trying to pack into 22 minutes or whatever the run times are, and and I find this with Rick and Morty, and I found it with Solar Opposites, which are all shows that Mike McMahon was involved in and have similar styles to them. It's just that they're just trying to do so much with a story, and that everything happens so fast and everyone's shouting. And that's one thing that, when it comes to the series as a whole, I still have to kind of get used to. Nobody talks on that show. Everyone shouts. They're either shouting because they're excited, they're shouting because they're frustrated, they're shouting because they're mad. I think the only person who didn't shout was Peanut Hamper. And Peanut Hamper is an exocomp. When it didn't shock me that Boimler would try to, do the, ingratiating. I mean, he's supposed to, he's a good-natured douche. So yeah, when it happened and unfolded the way it did, I just felt like, all right, well, this is something they're just trying to get resolved, so we don't have that hanging over anything for season 2.
Yeah, but I just feel like they didn't even need it to be a secret at all. They could have just been upfront with it at the beginning of the show, and it could have just been over the course of the season how they get used to it. It didn't have to be, like, for me, I'm like, why did it have to be a secret? It could have just been out in the open that that's what it is, and they just have to deal with it throughout the season. I would have preferred that.
As a storytelling point, I absolutely agree. I think it would have been much more interesting and fun to see the dynamic of how they, I would think that the rest of the lower decks people would assume that Mariner is a rat for her mom. And, they would have to either, learn how to trust her. And that would also explain the way she acts out toward the rules and towards authority. My dad was the judge of my hometown. And, so I kind of know that drill. I didn't find out till like my 25th high school reunion that, all the people that that smoked weed when I was in high school never invited me to parties because they thought I would tell on them, And I said, well, I thought you invited me because you knew I'd rather play D&D than smoke weed. And that's why I didn't have dates for prom. Oh, wait, this is a totally different podcast now.
Is this therapy?
Confessions.
It is great confessions. Yeah. But no, that's Justin, I completely agree. If I was in charge of the story, I think there might have been more to play with that being knowledgeable and senior officers coping with it, or maybe not coping with it, but the lower decks people beside themselves not knowing how to handle it. Mm-hmm. I would have been. Did Wesley have any friends on the ship? They name dropped him. When, I don't know what the big deal is. Wesley, Dr. Crusher worked with her son, or whatever the throwaway line was.
There's a deleted scene where he has some friends on the ship, but we didn't see that in the show.
Well, so I don't. Wouldn't it have
when
been
Crusher comes back, he's dating somebody as well, right? Like as soon as Crusher comes back in season 3, right? He's on a date with somebody, and she's talking with Guy, and she's like, "Tell me about her," and like freaking out in her mom way.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. I hadn't thought about that. But I agree. That's separate from the critique of this episode. But yeah, overall, I totally agree. I think it would have been a more interesting dynamic to have that be information everyone had rather than information everyone didn't.
See, and the other way they could have done it is that we didn't know in episode 1, and they just revealed it in episode 9 when we found out with Boimler on the holodeck.
Right.
That would have been good. That would have been good too. Yeah, for sure. So. I just want to mention something while we're talking about this because listeners have let us know they want to hear more about the canon connection. So in this teaser, we should mention it's on Beta 3 from Return of the Archons, and the people there are still apparently worshiping Landru, and they have to tell them not to. So good callback.
And the TOS
my favorite Easter egg on that part. Okay, I will admit, I didn't like the TOS joke. That was a lot.
Kevin, I didn't
those old
either
scientists.
What it stood for, I'm like, a lot of them weren't scientists. Actually, like I thought about it yesterday for a few minutes, and I was like, I think it would have been better if he said that TOS stood for the original space guys, so that it's kind of close to the original series, and then people can be like, they weren't the first people in space. Well, it doesn't matter because they're my guys. I don't know. I would have liked that more.
But one of the first stories that Dayton Ward and I had written together was a sequel to Return of the Archons as part of the Foundation's trilogy within Starfleet Corps of Engineers. So I'm a big fan of that episode. Dayton has never really liked it, played along with my interest in sequelizing it. But I did love the throwaway lines about the Purge and the Red Hour.
Yes.
I've always complained. The first time I saw a trailer for The Purge, that looks interesting. I said, yeah, it was interesting when it was Return of the Archons. So that was a nice little subtle thing that made me laugh.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I love Return of the Archons. I think that episode's a lot of fun. And I have my own personal Red Hour every time I'm done podcasting with Justin.
Sorry, you're calling out me in particular?
Yes. I'm just kidding.
I thought this was festival.
Festival.
There's not enough shouting for that.
I get off and I'm like, Justin doesn't agree with anything, and then I flip my laptop over and I smash things and I scream
I
and
see.
my shirt. And, yeah, so
I just want a Roman candle as tall as I am, like those guys had.
excellent.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Okay,
that
anyway.
was pretty cool. Okay, so then we do find this out, and then we end up the next part of the episode. We've got a ship in danger here. We've got the Solvang. We got the Solvang.
I have to ask a question. So the Solvang has a Captain Dayton, and I've thought, Kevin, that might have been a reference to Dayton.
You know
So
what?
did I.
He has from the jump said that he firmly denies that. There's no shout out or
That means it's true. Awesome. Sorry to interrupt, but I've thought about it the last time we saw the Rubidoux some episodes back that it must be about Dayton Ward.
No.
So then
that captain was way more competent than he was. That's no. But in all sincerity, in fact, I'd even he had tweeted and put on Facebook all right, settle down, everybody. That's. Well, I mean, when those episodes were written and things like that, there was nobody involved in the show that would have even known who he was at that point in time. So.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Excellent. So we got the Packleds as a villain in this episode. Now, Justin, you said you didn't like it because you don't really like the Packleds, but this is the Packleds on steroids.
Well, so a couple of things about the Packleds. Of course, they come from the TNG episode. I think it's season 2, Samaritan Snare,
Yep.
where they're pretending there's something wrong and they kidnap Geordi because they want stuff, and this is them like getting lots of stuff and they want all the pieces. I don't know. I've just always thought the Packleds are just. I don't like the concept, and it feels sometimes like they're, I don't know, making fun of people with mental challenges or something. There's just like something about it that's always rubbed me the wrong way, so that they were like the big bad adversary that are like destroying all of these ships. It didn't work for me. Like it's one of those things where I'm like, I wish it was some other adversary because I don't like that it's the Packleds. So that's my personal thing.
Now, and I will say this just for background stuff that we were in the context of us writing books and just kind of knowing, trying to know more. The whole idea of the Packleds was the book that you can't judge by the cover. Everything they've always told us, as far as deep background of the Packleds, is that they really are smart and capable. Obviously, they're they've got warp drive technology, and they didn't just it's not like hey, we found a ship and jumped in. But the idea is that because of their communication style and their they have a language with a greatly reduced vocabulary that the universal translator makes it sound like they're dullards when they're not. And that was one of the things about Geordi's judgment of the Packleds and his impatience with the Packleds that led them to, being, really threatened by him because everyone just assumed they were doofuses. So,
where did you hear this? Who told you this?
That was just something that we've, just discussions that we've had with people within just our Star Trek creative community. That's the That's the impression that I had on them. I was looking to see if that was something that I was trying to find. This is something that came from Robert McCullough. I'm reading from Memory Alpha. I don't know that the source of it was Starlog. That the writer said, as all the aliens are malevolent and intuitive like you, I thought it'd be neat to find some aliens left out of the loop of development. They appear to be stupid, but they're not. They're just needy, and they're so needy they've become desperate. He was happy that they kind of looked dull and laughable, but that was, the whole idea was, don't underestimate these, this culture.
Okay. Well, but it seems like maybe, I think what they're saying in this episode is Starfleet didn't learn from that first encounter, and they still think the Packleds are a joke. But also, like the Solvang is being destroyed, and they send out a distress call, and the Cerritos gets it. And I think someone says, "Hey, Captain, we're getting a partial distress call," and Freeman's like, It's probably something trivial. It's a joke. Like, she's not taking this distress call seriously.
Yeah, that was weird.
And even with the partial distress call, like, you don't want to hear what's in that. She's just like, it's just a weird thing. Let's just go and find it out. That seemed really negligent on her part. But
yeah, no, I go with that. But to flip back, just as just as because we don't even know if the Solvang knew that they were facing Pakleds.
They didn't. They just got shot on immediately.
Yeah. We didn't. They got shot at and there was a distress call.
Yeah, but as Freeman was critical of the people on Beta 3 that did you learn nothing, you hit on exactly what I think the Pakleds were supposed to show, that Starfleet didn't learn anything either.
Mm-hmm.
See, but okay, so let's pause on this for a second because
but go ahead.
I love I love what you guys came up with as a creative team, but I got to say that did not translate into peak performance Samaritan Snare for me at all. Like, I've always felt like, Justin, like, I don't like the Pakleds. I've always felt that the Pakleds are mocking people with mental development problems. Like, that's how I've always interpreted them, and I haven't liked them as a race. And so, in my point of view, that's why they never use them. Right? Because they're not a good alien race. That's why, like, the only time we ever see them after that is walking into Quark's bar. Right? That's the only time we ever see Pakleds are walking around DS9 because they're traders or whatnot, right? So, so I guess I had trouble with this, with the thought of this idea where it's like, did you learn nothing from the Pakleds? Because there was no indication that the Pakleds could do this kind of thing. Like, yes, they stole technology and whatnot, and they kidnapped Geordi, but I never even got the impression that they were an aggressive species in the fact where they wanted to destroy other ships, right? So, I mean,
but they're threatening, like in that episode in TNG, they are threatening Geordi and they're talking pretty aggressively, but there's no sense maybe that they would become what they are in this Lower Decks episode, but it does seem like everybody still thinks like, that's a joke, they kidnap people, and then they were like, because I think in that episode they're fooled by something that's just seems really silly, right? That happens in order to get them to feel like they're in trouble. But
right,
I don't know. It for me it was just like, I wish they would have used somebody else, because I got very distracted by this being from the Pakleds, right? And then also, there's all this destruction going on, and it's like, tonally, this episode is quite different than the other episodes. There's a lot more serious stuff going on and serious consequences, and that threw me for a loop a little bit too. I think a comedy can do that, but if already I'm having issues with the show and they just switch it to this something with serious consequences from a race I don't like that's kind of why there were these things kind of being put together where I was like, I'm not into this mix of stuff. So anyway.
Well, that's very fair.
And going back to the intro with Beta 3, yes, so the thing is that, Starfleet never follows up on stuff, and I don't mind being a second contact ship, but then why are we coming in second contact 150 years later, or whatever the number is, right? Yeah. They've never gone back. And I also don't buy that would have happened, right, in Starfleet. I don't think that they would go that long without having had any type of follow-up whatsoever.
Well, in our story, they didn't. In our story, there was the first contact was Kirk and the Enterprise and the landing party that discovered, everything that had happened with the, is it the Horizon? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
No, the Horizon was on
Horizon
the
was
Sigma OSHA.
Piece of the action?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to remember what... but the
Archon, wasn't the ship the Archon?
Yeah. That's where the Archons came from. Hey, you know what? Just forget. I obviously need more apples.
No, but like I there are lots of planets that I'm sure that ships visit, and I'm sure it might take a while to kind of get back and check in if they visited like thousands of planets. I could kind of see it.
Yeah, but in our story, the Starfleet Corps of Engineers came in right after Kirk as a second contact, more or less, to help get the society, infrastructure built. So it's like, hey, Landry was the one that ran the wastewater treatment plant. Now you get to run the wastewater treatment plant. kind of thing.
Yeah. By the way, I really love that trilogy. I thought there was a lot of great stuff.
You're
in
kind
it.
to say.
Foundations. Yeah.
But the thing with that is that, with the Klingons we get in Star Trek, right? So we get into episodes like, I don't like Judgment, right? And they're all like, so here's a Klingon lawyer. What, you didn't just expect all of them to be military warriors, did you? And it's like, yes, as a matter of fact, we did, because that's all they ever showed us on Star Trek. But the same question is, they didn't show us that they went back to these planets, but you don't actually expect Starfleet to just go there, completely screw up their society and just leave. Well, no, I don't actually really expect them to do that, right? Because this is Starfleet, right? And this is a decent corporation that's going out there to explore strange new worlds. Kirk would have sent that information back, and somebody would have gone back and followed up. We have second contact ships. We've got the Cerritos. I've just always assumed that these kinds of things exist. Kirk is going out there to explore strange new worlds and to do first contact, and then other people follow up with the second contact later on, right? So the fact that they never went to Beta 3 ever again doesn't make any sense to me. In the same way that not having a Klingon lawyer doesn't make any sense, right? Because they need Klingon chefs, and they need Klingon warriors, they need Klingon gardeners, and you know what? They need Klingon plumbers, right? So, yeah, I don't know.
I think that's all fair. And, and it's not too far it's not far from the idea of, we saw one Pac-led ship. Is that reflective of the entire Pac-led culture? We beam down to one town on one planet and assume that that's the whole planet's culture. But we do that because that's, the limitations of the stories that we're being told. And it's an hour-long episode of TV and every science fiction show that I'm aware of. You go to the one place, you beam down, you talk to the three people, and that's the planet, it's so, I don't know. We're just way deep.
But that's what's great about it. We're getting good discussion out of it. I love it. So, heaven forbid that aliens come to Earth and just beam down to Canada. They'll just think that all we do is play coffee, drink, or play hockey, drink coffee, and eat donuts and poutine, right?
Well, yeah, but you know what? If they beam down to you guys, they'd say, hey, Earth culture's kind of nice. I like these guys. They beam down in our place? Damn, phasers on. Let's just blast this planet before they get out and infect the rest of them.
Exactly.
Wow.
Sorry, I didn't mean to drop an effort.
Excellent. Chrissy, we've kind of skipped over here. What are your thoughts on the pack list?
Oh, that's all right. I never am quite sure what to think about the pack lids, because it the first few times, having seen it into adulthood, I always was like, okay, the pack lid are stupid, and that's their characteristic, the way that Klingons are warriors and Romulans are deceitful and humans are whatever we do. And
humans are awesome and perfect.
Humans are
we're
fix
everything in one package.
and I, if you take the idea of all of these different species as being reflective of the ability of some, being reflective of some aspect of humanity, I always kind of thought, well, that's the human capacity to be dopey, and because we can be, we do stupid things at times, and that's just what we do. But then I heard someone talking about it in the context of that it seems to be making fun of developmentally disabled people, and I went, ooh, that, and then I could never look at it the same way again. Now, in this, it doesn't make sense, in part because they've collected all these pieces of ships, right? And so we see pieces of Romulan ships, we see pieces of Klingon ships. I think that tractor beam that they were using was from the Borg. It was green. It had that kind of.
It felt like it.
Yeah. So somehow they got all these pieces put together. Okay, and they know how to add more pieces. So they're smart enough to do that, but at the same time, they think that every Starfleet ship is the Enterprise.
I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, it was.
I thought that was hilarious.
No, it was fantastic and hilarious, but
it's another Enterprise.
And then that goes to the universal translator thing. Do they just think that the word for ship is Enterprise? You know, or does the Universal Translator
Federation
think it?
ship, honestly.
Excuse me, Federation ship.
Federation
yeah.
ship.
Starfleet ship.
That's what I think, is that all Starfleet ships are Enterprises. Right. So,
but I was expecting. Go ahead.
No, when my daughter was little, she would come in and watch me watch TV, and she would say, "Oh, you're watching Captain." It could have been the original series or Next Gen or DS9 or Voyager. All she knew when she was like 4 and 5 was everybody ran around and said, "Captain, we need to put up the shields. Captain, what are we going to do next?" So she'd see someone and assume it was all one giant show called Captain.
I love that.
I love it.
That's fun.
Yeah. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're fine. Right, so I was expecting the reveal of this to be that there was somebody running everything and the Packlids were the front. You know, I was expecting to be reading it down into the bowels of the ship, and there was going to be, you know, an evil human who had, you know, left Starfleet and decided to do this, or, you know.
And is mind controlling them or something.
Because it didn't make sense that they could do all of these things and then not know the other thing.
And their weapons, the weapons they have are crazy. They just, like, carve up the ship like nothing.
Which,
like,
again, maybe Borg pieces, that you know. Yeah. But then, as I'm sitting here talking about this, I'm thinking about how people are smart in different ways. And so even as I'm saying, I can't believe that they could do this, at the same time they couldn't understand this, I'm realizing as that's coming out of my mouth that that's really short-sighted of me. So, I don't know. I still don't think the Packlids worked. It added an element to the show that was unnecessary. They could have, you know, made up a species, made it, you know, Romulans, made it Klingons, made it Borg, whatever.
Or maybe kind of like the Enterprise episode Silent Enemy, like you never see them and you don't even know who they are, and they're just really
that would have been so much better. Yes. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Packlids.
Well, I didn't like the Packlids in Samaritan Snare. I actually thought that this was a good follow-up for them, and I actually liked the Packlids in this episode, so I'm going to say that.
Well, it takes it to something you were saying earlier, is that if you just watch it, you can enjoy it, but when you start thinking about it in the, you know, trying to Star Trek it, then you have to ask questions and don't enjoy it as much.
So maybe that's my problem. Even on like a first watch, I'm really thinking about it in that way, like, and I can't enjoy it if it doesn't compute.
Maybe.
But anyway.
I wouldn't call it a problem. It's just what you're experiencing in the moment. Yeah.
Before I forget, 2 things about Beta 3. Okay. Total missed opportunity that this back-to-school season did not have some Starfleet branded crayons and school supplies as a like hidden precursor to this. Okay. I will invoke Mel Brooks's yogurt. Merchandising. Gotta have the merchandising. And the other thing is, especially after having heard the first interview of the pod directive, why was Ben Stiller not the voice of one of those people? Why was he not the guy that said, I just got a new scythe? I mean, how much would that have taken? And he would have...
Oh, that would be cool.
So I know that's...
I mean, because he loves that episode so much that his production company is called
Exactly!
Red Hour.
Exactly. So, you know, complaints about things that nobody else ever thought of, but there it is. Not complaints. Suggestions for the future.
That would have been amazing. Yeah.
Anyway. Yes,
okay, now, I got something to bring up here before we move on to the next topic here. Okay, so... I don't know. Tell me what you guys think of this, because this is like, I don't understand this. This does not make any sense to me. I need a dangerous, half-baked solution that breaks Starfleet codes and totally pisses me off. And in my opinion, all she did is just come up with a plan that would have been come up with anybody on any Star Trek series.
All that Mariner did was like, okay, Boimler, tell me something. Okay, Rutherford, it was a coordination. It wasn't Mariner coming up with the solution, actually. Yeah. And why couldn't the captain do that? But
even still, it's not even something that I think is in any way, shape, or form completely breaking Starfleet protocol. I don't know.
No,
like, it's just
right. But like that's a big problem that I had with this was like, you've seen Mariner break all these rules and stuff and have, I don't know, like all these problems with the captain, which is her mother. And then in the end, Freeman's like, all right, let's just break everything. And it's like, they didn't. Yeah, you're right. They didn't really. Like, so that didn't make sense.
Yeah, the only thing kind of I feel like is Starfleet iffy there is putting a virus into somebody's computer. You know, and even that is like,
if the other ship is trying to destroy you, I think that they'd probably be okay with
yeah,
that.
yeah, of course. I mean, it's levels of what's going on, but that's the only thing that feels like, oh, that's maybe not kosher.
But that just totally feels like a Starfleet solution to me.
Yeah.
And then
It does.
And then for this to lead to the, you know what, we break rules good together, so let's keep doing that. But you didn't even do that. I mean, I don't know. So I don't know. Kevin, what are your thoughts here?
In the moment for the for her line, all it made me think of was when the chips were down in Animal House and Otter stood up and said, "We need is a really stupid and futile gesture be done on somebody's part," and then Pluto stood up and said, "We're just the guys to do it." That was where my brain went when she rattled off that line. That basically, or was that just her way of trying to con Beckett into helping, when if she had just said, "I really need the way your brain works, can you help us?" Because that probably would have shocked her so much she would have just froze.
Yeah. I have a question, though, about like this whole solution, right? So Rutherford is like, okay, Badgie, I need your help. I've already developed all these viruses. Like, why does Rutherford need Badgie for this? Isn't Badgie just like a manifestation of the like computing power of the computer? Couldn't he ask the computer to like make up these viruses? Like, I don't know why Badgie has to do it.
Because Mike McMahon listens to our podcast and has heard how many times you've said the return of Badgie, the return of Badgie. And so he did it just for you.
Sorry if you're listening, Mike McMahon. I was saying that sarcastically. I didn't want Badgie back. But that didn't make sense to me. Like, why? The only reason for that was to get later to the sacrifice of Shax and like the stuff that happens with Rutherford losing his implant, which I also didn't like because it felt like totally arbitrary and totally like way outside for this show. So I don't know. That was also something that I was like, when I'm starting to really like Shax, I just kill him off. But anyway.
Mm-hmm. And again with the eye violence.
I thought of you when I saw that. I was like, Brandon's going to say, this is more eye violence. Why are they doing this?
Except in this case, it's beyond the eye, including half of his face.
Oh, I had to look away because when he started to rip it off, I was like, oh, no, I can't watch that. Because that, like, he probably took out like part of his eyeball or something.
Yeah.
Like, oh, God.
It's...
Anyway, it felt graphic to me.
When he went after Badgie, I thought Badgie was going to be the virus.
That's what I thought.
So that made sense to me, and then it was, oh no, he's just delivering it.
I thought I didn't second guess him going down to activate the Badgie protocol. Mm-hmm. I thought he would infect their ship with Badgie.
Yes, that would have been hilarious, especially with the context of the
That would have been funny if Badgie just keeps popping up on like every display they have and is totally messing up everything, and that's what causes their ship to break down or something.
I mean, a Badgie who is enthusiastic to help, and they don't.
I would have loved that.
And it's like we and the Packleads attempting to communicate. We need guns to shoot. I think what you want to do is, and then screw them all up and basically tied everything up. But I know any show nowadays is guilty of it. We got to up the stakes. We got to do this and this and this. And I was surprised that they lost a character, but I think that's where it went. But that's where my mind was. And I try really hard. I mean, the last time I got so mad at a movie because I was trying to write it while I was watching it, and then they went and did something different, and now I hate the movie. I'm looking at you, Hot Tub Time Machine. I thought that that's where my brain was going. He's going to grab Badgie. Badgie is the virus. Badgie's going to behave the way Badgie did before he turned evil.
Mm-hmm.
I would have really liked that.
These people to death. I thought that would have been really funny. Especially
because the Packleads would have been so encouraging of it. You can make us go?
God.
Yes, I can make you go. How do you make us go?
Sure.
Do this. It would have been hilarious.
It would have been, That's where I saw it happening. And But I will admit that I laughed just as hard at, I've already got 3 viruses. It says, I'll be glad to help you as soon as you turn off my safety protocols. And Rutherford, who's on his, optimism times 10. Okay. I laughed really hard because, of course, he's waiting to be let out of the bottle once again. Mm-hmm. So, made me laugh.
That's funny. Now, a question for you guys here on Badgie there. When Badgie's hits the 100% and he's like, there we go. Is that a poop joke or an orgasm joke?
It felt
either
like,
one.
It felt like poop.
I wanted to kind of listen to it really close, just in case there was that before everything.
I don't know.
Could be poop joke, could be orgasm joke. It could be either. Yes.
Ooh, now yeah. Again,
I didn't go there.
Back bottom instead of front bottom.
Remember what my second holodeck program is going to be, right? So,
it has unfortunately never left my mind during this entire podcast we're recording here. So,
excellent.
I don't know why.
I'm going to say poop joke because that was not terribly enthusiastic. I'll just leave it at that.
I don't think we need to go into this.
Okay, so
dysfunction of Badgie on the next episode.
Devoted episode to Badgie. I got it. Yeah.
Oh,
sign me up. Calendar.
I will
so,
be away.
Okay, so let's go to Shax. Let's move on to Shax. Let's talk about Shax. So, as a person who was very disappointed with a death on Star Trek Discovery Season 2, they killed a character here, and I didn't feel it was necessarily necessary for them to kill off Shax, but I'm also greatly pleased that they didn't cram the entire backstory of this character down our throats so that we could suddenly care for him.
Yes.
But also,
that's not a very veiled reference you're making there.
Yeah.
Episode, but go ahead.
But also, I also wasn't moved by the fact that he died. I love Shax. Shax has been my favorite senior staff character, but I wasn't sad that he's gone. I'm just okay, he's gone now. So what did you guys think of the death of Shax? And Ariam's death was terrible. Go ahead.
Ariam's death was great, but anyway, go ahead. Yeah, I think it was not necessary. I'm like you, Brandon. I was starting to really like the character, but I didn't really feel anything. And I'm a person that if I'm really gotten into a character and they die in Star Trek, I will cry because it'll move me. But I feel like for Shax, and actually for all the characters on Lower Decks, they haven't gotten me to the point where I care about them enough that would happen, unfortunately.
Well, we've had very little screen time with many of these characters. I did not see it coming, but on the second run, I kind of, this is the greatest day of my life. And the last thing he does before the ship explodes is laugh.
It's true.
So I thought, wow, when they were gathered for the funeral, I thought, wow, it's kind of like any animated show that, The Simpsons will kill off characters once in a while. Not that I'm an avid watcher, but I used to be. And this one did, part of me was like, wow, they went there. It's not like that, he, got out in a piece of flotsam and drifted back into the ship or whatever. However, the last time we saw somebody shot out of a ship in a photon tube, we know what happened to him.
Yeah. And it was funny because I think on the New York Comic Con panel, the guy who does the voice for Shax was like, you can still bring me back. Maybe Rutherford gets a different implant in season 2 and it has a Shax mode.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, nobody's really truly dead in Star Trek, but
or he's got a twin brother that next time they go past DS9 or whatever, they pick him up.
Twin brother Shax,
but Flax. Or actually it could be Wait, I'll get there. No, I won't, because I can't remember Spock's brother's name in Star Trek 5.
Sybok.
Sybok.
There you go. Shackbok.
There you go.
I'm calling it right now. Shackbok. I think that, it kind of worked. I mean, I think that if they're going to leave, it's hard to get character development across the span of less than 4 hours of screen time, for this whole season. But we did see some things that helped push the characters into different directions, and death on the ship is a way to push somebody into different directions. It certainly lets us know that even though Lower Decks is a cartoon, that there are stakes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm surprised that they made that choice, but again, I wasn't like moved or like freaking out or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. It was weird. But
I wasn't surprised that they had a big battle, because the last 2 season finales we've seen in Star Trek have had big battles. But
yeah,
I think that was the joke.
Yeah.
Is that the joke?
Yeah. It's the season finale, so we have to have a big ass battle.
Yeah. Okay. I know we got a lot to talk about here. There's a lot to talk about in this episode. So one other thing we got to talk about now is Rutherford and the state that we leave him in. This is a very interesting position to leave him in that he doesn't have memories. He doesn't have this implant. As far as this episode goes, I think it's very confusing that a Vulcan implant would have all these different type of emotional modes.
That did make sense to me.
Well, maybe the Vulcan part was it's produced on Vulcan, and Vulcan mode is one of those, and he didn't know.
But it's even got a Vulcan ear. The shape of one of the ears is Vulcan, right?
That's true.
So, I don't know. But whatever. It was funny. There was still some funny stuff in it. But it just seemed odd that that would have that. Maybe it was one of the things that got in the upgrade when he got the Klingon font. There, so. Or
something that the Vulcans knew that because he was human, he might want to access, but forgot to tell him that he had to knock off the protector button to get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
But I love Tendi and him, and I love Tendi's optimism where she's sad, but she's like, you know what this means? We get to become best friends all over again. And this is why these two guys are my favorite characters. So, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't like the trauma that Rutherford has to go through, and now he has to kind of learn everything again. I don't know. It just, like Shaq's death, it just felt unnecessary to me.
Mm-hmm. But you guys want to add anything on Rutherford?
I don't think he's lost everything. I think he's maybe just lost however much time it had been.
Well, he knows when Tendi says, "Oh, you saved the Cerritos," he's like, "That's great," but then he doesn't know Tendi. So there's certain things he does know, but other things he doesn't, I guess.
So he doesn't remember the last season. He doesn't remember this season.
There we go.
Well, but the two things we don't know is whether there's what kind of a time jump we're going to have between season 1 and 2, and
900 years,
what his future is going to be. And I think he's going to end up getting a new implant.
Mm-hmm. Oh, probably.
Yeah,
I would expect him to.
Yeah,
because it fits, right? It's already there.
But I still want to know why he got it in the first place. But we may not find that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see it in the Snyder cut.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. Well, we can move on to final thoughts. We don't have anything else to talk about. Nobody wants to talk about the Titan. Right?
No.
Titan? Anybody want to talk about Titan?
Nobody liked Peanut but me.
Peanut Hamper. Let's do Peanut Hamper then. Yes, it's an
let's talk
Exocomp.
about Peanut Hamper.
And I thought it was very funny that we got somebody who's like, you know what? I'm good. I don't want to risk my life for Starfleet in this ship.
Yes.
Maybe laugh.
Yeah. I don't know. I love the Exocomps, and Quality of Life is one of my favorite TNG episodes. But I don't know, just that happening for a laugh. But then because of that, they leave Peanut Hamper floating in space to just, I don't know, slowly
She did it
die.
to herself. She did it to herself.
Yeah. No, nobody deserves that. To me, that they were trying to make it for laughs, help, but it felt cruel.
See, but it's really also on brand for the Exocomps because they did that in the Quality of Life. They made decisions to not sacrifice themselves.
Right. Yep,
it's on brand.
Yeah.
No, but that was them working together to see how they could minimize the overall loss of life and still save things in the end. This is, or I'm not going to go into this situation where you tell me something is wrong and I know there really isn't. I don't think it's like the Exocomps we've seen before, but I don't know. I love seeing an Exocomp, but then the attitude was just, and that they were kind of basically letting her float in space seemed wrong. So the whole thing, I was like, great to see an exocomp, but don't like what they did with the character, and they're going to let her die.
Here, I'm going to make the call now, okay? The season 2 finale is going to be a hot take on Star Trek The Motion Picture, and Peanut Hamper will return to Earth, having built a massive structure around her that and jeopardizes the entire future of Starfleet.
Yeah, or it could be like the Wrath of Khan, and she takes over the Reliant 2 and comes after them that way.
Funny. She could take over one of those Pac-led ships. If there's anything left of them.
Yeah, there you go.
That's true.
Puts it all together.
So, yeah, I hope she's not lost forever.
Okay, let's move on to the Titan now. Okay, so we very much got episode 10 of Picard Riker here, and to me, okay, so I loved the ending. The ending hit all the notes. It made me feel good. It made me excited. The Next Generation music was perfectly cheesy, and I loved it. Right? It was awesome. I really did love it. But there's something wrong with Riker here. Okay, like this extremely crazy excited Riker is not the Riker that we see and we've seen for the last how many years.
Yeah, they told him to dial it up because it's a comedy.
But what about even at the end of Picard? What do you mean, Picard? You didn't just expect I'm going to be making pizzas? I don't know. Like that's not Riker. I don't know.
That works for me because that's like 20 years later. This is Riker like not too long after Nemesis. It seems out of character then. But like 20 years later, I could totally see that.
This is to me the same Riker that we saw in that finale of Picard. So
yeah. Well, getting married changes people.
Makes them nuts.
Yeah. But you know what? Like the biggest problem that I had with this is sitting next to Riker was this Saurian first officer, which is fine, but not Christine Vale from the Titan novels.
I'm going to assume that she was not just on shift at that moment. That's all.
That's the way I tried to put it for myself too. Yeah. But I'm like, you have the model perfectly right, like. And it would have been great if they had Tim Russ on and he was there as Tuvok, which happens in the novel. Anyway. So.
But the novels aren't canon, Justin.
That's right.
Except for the cover of the Titan novel that has the picture.
That is true, but things can get pulled in.
Look at me and ask me if you think I'm writing things that matter. But my theory on Riker, I think that his dialed up behavior was overcompensating for having a little Horgon.
A little Horgon, yes.
Oh.
We'll take the regular.
No, they're just going to take the other one. Yeah. and wait, and Riker is getting lots of contraband for Mariner? That doesn't seem in character.
No, Riker having contraband is perfectly in character.
Yes, I would agree with that. Him hanging out with Mariner, I don't necessarily think is in character.
Okay, but if it's in character for him to get a lot of contraband, for him to give it to someone else that he knows,
he owes her.
Yeah.
He owes her. Okay. So maybe that's it. I think she thinks she's getting contraband from Will Riker. She's actually getting it from Thomas Riker.
That works. That works.
Works for me.
That is cool. Yeah, where is Thomas Riker? Why didn't he show up here? Maybe
he's
it is
still in
Thomas
a Cardassian
Riker
prison.
Wait. Maybe it is Thomas Riker that we're seeing, and that's why he's acting this way.
Deanna Troi has had enough personal violations. I think we can assume that she's not thinking that her husband is someone that he's not.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that.
That'd be another thing that's on brand, right? If this is Tom.
True.
Never mind. I'm just done.
What were you going to ask me? You started to say something.
What are your thoughts on Riker?
You know, you started to say that after somebody made the little Horgon joke, and it was interesting to see how many people on social media took that as they were going to invite somebody else into their bed. Whereas I didn't take it either. I took it as you've got a little, small dick joke, but it's, whatever. Hey, that's cool. That's what they want to do. Consenting adults on Little Rise Up.
The fanfic is being written right now.
Yes, it's
okay. Has been written.
More power to them. You know what it was? The Riker is not entirely in character with who he was in the last few seasons of the show, but it does feel a little bit like the Riker that emerges in Insurrection. He's a little bit happier. Yes. He is more spontaneous, and that does connect with that idea that he's finally getting his command, which is something he wanted to do in his late 20s. So maybe he's feeling like a little, I don't know what the good word for it, rejuvenated, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's the word for it. That actually, that theory gives more weight to Insurrection that it's had since its release.
Yeah. I don't understand you Star Trek fans who use the worst possible Star Trek examples to justify something that's happened. Everybody's like, oh, we didn't know Michael Burnham was Spock's brother. Yeah, you didn't know about Cybok either. Oh, yeah. It's like, I'm just waiting for the, I'm just waiting for the example. Like when Picard, when they brought him back to life at the end, I'm like, I am so looking forward to people starting to use Into Darkness as a defense.
Yes.
Right? So as a defense of this. And I just can't wait until we get the clip show and people saying it's okay to do it because they did it in Shades of Grey.
You know what, though? Lower Decks doing a clip show as...
I'm teasing you, Chris.
No, I know.
Would be hilarious.
Lower Decks needs to do a clip show the way Golden Girls used to do clip shows, which was to bring in clips of things that you never saw before. So that would be beautiful. That yeah.
But during a hurricane.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or Mother's Day.
That would be really, really funny.
Yeah.
I mean, that's interdimensional TV.
Mm-hmm.
Interdimensional TV.
Where that would be, yes. Write that down and tweet it to McMahon. A clip show, but it's clips we've never seen. That's really funny.
So this is a random thought, but one of the things I didn't notice the first time that I noticed the second time when I actually saw the captions was Riker calling Boimler Boomler.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that the first time. That was kind of funny. So I laughed at that. I also laughed at when they cut to sickbay and you see Tiana and she's like, "Wow!" Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was really funny. We need more Tiana.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I will say,
those are the 2 times I laughed.
Mike McMahon, you wrote this episode. If you are listening, Riker coming back to save the day in this episode tugged on my heartstrings in all the right ways, and I enjoyed it way more than Riker coming to save the day at the end of Picard. So this one worked for me. So
feel totally the opposite.
Yeah.
No, I did enjoy him coming in here. I'm not going to say better or worse than the other. This one was more fun. Let's put it that way.
Say it.
No, I won't.
Okay. I think we've kind of covered everything here.
I've said my piece.
So it sounds like we all loved this episode, and I'm just going to go with that, okay? So
you are diminishing my personhood, Brandon.
Kevin,
we all appreciated this episode as something that exists. There you go. I think you can justify that.
It is canon. I will say that.
Yes. Kevin, what are your predictions, hopes, fears for season 2 of Lower Decks?
Oh, well, I mean, you know, I gave both of them that Shaxx as Shackbot and then Peanut Hamper coming back to be big bad villain for the finale of season 2. Now I'm eager to see more of what I like. The characters, I like the mood of it. My favorite thing of the whole season, and you touched on it, but I want to do the shout out to the composer Chris Westlake. Best Star Trek theme song since Next Generation.
That's a good one.
But no, I like what they showed me in season 1. I would like to see what's next for them. I think that these characters are worth exploring and worth expanding. I am just fine liking the Lower Decks characters more than I do the officers. Originally when West Wing started, they weren't even going to show the president. And then when Sheen came on and the writers liked him, it kind of took the whole show in a different direction. I do not want that. I do not want them to say, hey, these bridge crew are great. Let's do more with them. No, I want to stick with our 4 leads, and I hope they do that.
Excellent. What do you think's going to happen with Boimler? Like, do you think it sounds like we might be getting some time on the Titan next year.
Yeah, I think Mike McMahon said there will be, at least at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. I think that's cool. I think that's really interesting. So, Chrissy, any predictions, hopes, fears for season 2?
Well, my prediction is that we're going to come back right beginning of season 2, first part of it. Boimler's back on the Cerritos with a note in his hand, and he's back to an ensign, and he hands the note to Freeman, and we don't know why he's back, but the note says that he's never going to take another transfer from the Cerritos ever again. And then we never find out what happened.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
Sure.
Be funny.
Justin?
Well, I joked in our little internal chat that my prediction for season 2 is that I'll look forward to Discovery season 4 because this whole time for season 1 of Lower Decks, I've been looking forward to Discovery season 3. But really, I'm not sure what to predict for this show. Based on what Mike McMahon said, we're going to spend some time on the Titan. My hope, which will never happen, is that they just forget about the Cerritos and just follow the Titan on some really cool adventures. Bring in Vale, bring in Tuvok, bring in all the characters. It just becomes a Titan show, and we leave Lower Decks behind. I know that sounds harsh, but I would be so much more into a Titan show. My fear is that season 2 will be like season 1 in terms of the kind of humor, and that I won't find it funny and I won't like it. That's my greatest fear. Bring on Discovery season 3 is all.
I like your idea there, and I think we should take note of what happened with Pike and company in season 2 of Discovery.
You could get a spin-off.
Because we may very well get a couple seasons of Cartoon Titan, and I think that would be fantastic. Imagine if...
Me too.
I'd like that, as long as it's not a comedy. I don't want
Well,
it
it can be a little funny. There's funny moments.
It can be a little funny, but I don't want the focus to be comedy, because for me, and yes, I'm taking this from the novels, what works with Titan is the exploration they have, the diversity of the crew, the kind of important messages and themes that they have in it is, for me, is wonderful in almost all of those novels, and I want more of that. I don't want it to be like Riker's making jokes every week or something like that. But anyway.
One thing, if they were to do that and they were to stick with some of the stuff that's in the novels, it's going to be a lot easier in animation. You've got the one, I forget her name, the woman that's in the water suit, and
the doctor.
Yeah, the doctor.
Doctor.
I want to see Dr. Ree. Yes. And the
dinosaur-like doctor, yeah.
The robot guy. The two robot guy. The one that's half robot. He's a Choblik, a robot deer
Choblik
thing.
Is the
I can't think of his name.
Yeah. But there's tons of. It's like the Titan in the novel is probably the most diverse ship we've ever seen anywhere in published Star Trek.
That's part of the point,
because it's just. And that's part of the point. This is more diverse than it's ever been, and I absolutely love that, and I want to see something like that. But
we got at least 7 years of Trek coming up, so let's make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
So I want to see some Titan in season 2. I think that'd be really cool. That is something that I have wanted to see. When I got Jonathan Frakes...
Flyby of the Aventine with Captain Dax.
When I got Jonathan Frakes to autograph my big Star Trek flag, I got him to autograph it as Captain Riker, because that's how we saw them last, and I wanted... He double-checked, he's like, Captain Riker? I'm like, yes, I want you to write Captain Riker, please. So,
let's acknowledge here that Jonathan Frakes has been involved with more Star Trek series than anyone ever. He's been involved in every show since TNG, either as an actor or director, which is amazing.
Did I not also predict that it was going to be Riker was showing up?
You did.
Yeah, you did. And it made sense. I didn't predict it before the episode, but when the Titan showed up with Riker, I was like, yeah, of course it is.
Yeah,
I wasn't too surprised.
She name dropped the Titan at the beginning of the episode.
But they've name dropped Enterprise too.
You can't show the gun in the first act if you don't shoot it in the third.
It's the Titan? I thought it was the Enterprise.
More Enterprises.
Another Enterprise.
Yeah, it's all Enterprise.
So
next season you'll see the Pakleds and they'll be like, it's another Titan.
And how nice. And how about that? Kind of threw himself his own shade about hanging out in the holodeck at the crew, and then quoting the lyrics to the theme song. I thought, damn,
that was beautiful and painful at the same time.
After Brandon Braga apologized to the entire cast of Enterprise on, I think it was the season 2 special features for Blu-ray or whatever. I was like,
you know what? I hated the Enterprise theme song when I first saw it, but now I love it.
That's funny.
Like, I've grown to absolutely
and
love
that's
it.
my prediction for season 2 is Justin saying, when I first watched Lower Decks, I hated it, but I've grown to love it.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's more likely that I'll grow a third arm.
Okay, Lieutenant Eriks. That's who I want to see. More Triaxians.
Yeah.
More Triaxians.
Yeah.
So
all right.
You were saying
I want to keep Boimler promoted. Because I like as much as he's not my favorite character on the show, I mean, like he wants to be a Starfleet officer, and I'd like to see his character grow, and I'm excited for him that he got his dream mission on the Titan. I think that's great. I'm looking forward to seeing a bit of him over there. I don't want to just have a big jump and like, oops, it was a reset, and I don't want to see that. I'm looking forward to seeing him on the Titan, and even maybe if he comes back to the Cerritos, even if he could be like a lieutenant or something, still I would be fine with that. So. I'm looking forward to checking that out. So, I am looking forward to season 2 as well. I mean, like I said, I love this show. I think the show is a lot of fun, right? I'm looking forward to season 2. It's really good. And it's my favorite of the 3 series that we've gotten so far. So keep it coming. And I love the discussions that we have. And as much as I'll be like, I don't like Mariner as a character, I'm loving the discussions that we're having here. And this has been a lot of fun talking about this show.
The discussions we have here make it worth it. I know I said it last week, but I love the discussions we have here because I know like Lower Decks has been your favorite of the 3, kind of new Star Trek series we've seen, but it's probably my least favorite Star Trek series of any of them, unfortunately. But I look forward to talking to you guys with it, so thank you.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, Kevin, thank you so very much for joining the discussion today. We've really appreciated having you on the podcast. Where can listeners find you online? And then tell us about some current and upcoming work that you're working on.
Wow, current and upcoming work is all Hallmark, except for some short stories that Dayton and I wrote together. We've got a short story that is in a anthology called Tales from the Multiplex that is available on Amazon now. If I can put in a really early plug, we're toward the end of the month. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter, but Dayton and I wrote a story for a project that is going to get a Kickstarter that we're very eager to see succeed. So look for me on Facebook and Twitter toward the end of the month, and I will be promoting that. That's it. Star Trek Storytellers are in Hallmark stores, and I worked a great deal on that. So that was a lot of fun. I think that's it. That's track me down on Facebook and Twitter for anything new.
Awesome. And we've already booked you. You're coming on for Discovery for an episode.
Hey, sure. Yeah. I think the 2nd of January.
Yes. So I think it's the second last episode we got you coming on for, episode 12. So we're looking forward to that.
Now I have a reason to watch it. That's great.
You're going to watch it.
I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it.
Chrissy, where can people find you when you're not carving up a First Contact Day salmon?
I love that. I want to know all the foods for all of the Starfleet holidays. That would be wonderful. Right, so I am on Twitter at the Goddess Livia. That's spelled TheGoddessLivia. And there I tweet about Star Trek history and leftist politics. As you might imagine, for a while it's going to be a lot more of that last one till we get past election craziness. You can also follow my work in history by liking the webpage my fellow historian partner Jason and I run, History with the Szilagys, which is at historywiththeszilagys.org, and that is spelled SZILAGYIS. And we have a Facebook group, Facebook page that's the same name. And there you'll see our most recent projects, Historical Musings, blogs discussing historical context for current events, and our blogs discussing the historical context of HBO's Lovecraft Country.
Justin, where can people find you when you're not snagging Bajoran beefsteaks with your coital hooks?
Oh my God! We didn't talk about that image.
Yeah.
Okay. So I do like to Anna, but keep those coital hooks away.
See, I couldn't do the salmon one for you because I know you're vegan.
Yeah. Okay. So food or sex, fine. Okay. So you can find me on Twitter. I'm at TrekFan4747, where I tweet about nothing but Star Trek. I swear I do love Star Trek. I just have problems with Lower Decks. And you can find me hanging around our Facebook group, the Federation Council Chambers, where you can talk about this episode and any others on the United Federation of Podcasts, including yelling at me for why I don't like Lower Decks. It's
Nobody yells at you.
It's true. Everybody, like, to be honest, I put out every week my little mini review, and people have been so, like, they're like, oh, it's okay that you don't like it. It's fine. They've been, like, so accommodating. So thank you, people out there in social media.
Because we know that you're a fan, and we know you love Star Trek.
I do. I hope I've proved it. So, but Discovery next week, yes.
Yes.
Brandon, we can return to where we should be, which is me liking it and you hating it.
Maybe we could all love it.
That would be great.
That would be better.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll have you sign a pledge right now. I will love the Discovery episode while we talk. No, okay.
Constructive criticism and discussion is always warranted. So
no predictions of Saru's coital hooks for season 3?
No, I do have one prediction, though, for next week's episode here. Now, I realize this is out in left field. Okay, so the next episode we're talking about... I
know where you're going, all right.
The first episode is called The Hope Is You. Now, just bear with me and hear me out here. I think that the hope is going to be Michael Burnham. I know that's crazy, that's nuts, but I think it's going to be about her. So,
and I would be totally fine with that.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Brandon Matella. You can find me here on the network with a show called Franchise Fatigue, which is all about movies, remakes, and sequels. You can find me over on the Nerd Party Network. We're done our Fincher series, and we did find out now that Mank is not coming out until December, but we are working on our next series called House of Nolan, and we're doing Christopher Nolan's films. So I think those will release after we have our Mank episode. You can also find me on the Fandom Podcast Network with a show called Good Evening, an Alfred Hitchcock podcast, which is all of Hitch's films in chronological order. And I think that's about it. That's where you can find me. Thank you so much for tuning in to Infinite Diversity. Thank you to our executive producers, Ken Tripp, Tony Robinson, and Zach Moore. Thank you to Zach Tripp for the wonderful theme music and Tony Robinson for the awesome show art. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, and please subscribe. If you want to reach out, you can find us on Twitter at UFP Earth or our new Twitter handle of IDIC Podcast. We also have a new Facebook group for the United Federation of Podcasts called Federation Council Chambers, where you can discuss the episodes for any UFP podcast, or you can email us at infinitediversity@UFP-Earth. On the next episode, we'll be talking about Season 3 premiere of Discovery, The Hope Is You. Until then, peace and long life.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.